So Samsung just split its own Fold lineup in half. Instead of building one perfect phone, they're dividing the best features into two. And here's the problem. No matter which one you pick, you're giving something up. That decision alone is going to divide fans right down the middle. I've got 10 updates. Let's get into it. We're still months out from the Fold 8 launch, but the date is already locked in. Multiple reports point to a July 22nd Unpacked event in London. And the Z Fold 8 Wide, that's the whole story, because this is the one that changes everything, and not in the way you'd expect. We already have renders of both versions of the Fold 8, and the difference between them comes down to one thing. Samsung is finally admitting the tall, narrow cover screen was always a compromise, but the fix comes at a cost. The Z Fold 8 Wide goes in the opposite direction from everything Samsung has been doing. It's wider, it's thicker, and it's built for usability instead of just looking sleek. And on paper, it might actually be smaller, which sounds like a downgrade, but it's not. A wider form factor gives you more usable space. Typing feels normal again. Apps don't feel cramped. You don't have to unfold the phone just to reply to a message. And when you open it, it actually feels like a proper tablet. Better multitasking, better reading, fewer black bars. So if you care about usability, this is the version you want. But that's where the split begins, because the moment Samsung fixes that problem, something else has to give. And instead of solving everything in one device, they're splitting the experience across two. And the clearest example of that is the S Pen. Samsung removed the S Pen last year to chase thinness. Now reports say it's coming back, but not everywhere. And this is where things get interesting. The wide Fold 8 is the one being linked to S Pen support. That makes sense. It's the productivity-focused version, the one designed for real work. Meanwhile, the regular Fold 8 is expected to stay thinner, but that likely comes at the cost of the digitizer layer. So now you have a choice. If you want the thinner Fold, you lose the S Pen. If you want the S Pen, you're carrying a thicker, wider phone. I'll be straight with you. I'd take the slightly thicker option if it actually gives me a proper S Pen experience, because that's real functionality. But that's not the point. The point is that Samsung split the lineup's identity in half, and you can't have both in one fold. And once that kind of split happens, the next thing to watch are the cameras. According to multiple reliable leaks, both Fold 8 variants are keeping the 200-megapixel main sensor. That part sounds great on paper, but they're not the same setup. The regular Fold 8 keeps a familiar triple camera system, likely with improvements to the ultra-wide. The wide Fold, on the other hand, limited to a dual camera layout. So again, you're making a trade-off. To be fair, Samsung is positioning the wide Fold to compete with Apple's Foldable, which is also rumored to use a dual camera system. And the S Pen advantage still gives Samsung an edge, but the pattern is clear. And once again, that's exactly what divides people. And that same trade-off shows up again in the battery. Samsung is finally pushing the regular Fold 8 to a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. That's a meaningful upgrade after years of barely moving. But then you look at the wide Fold, it's rumored to come in at around 4,800 milliamp hours. So the more productivity-focused Z Fold 8 ends up with less battery than the standard version. And again, you see the same pattern. However, the charging is moving up to 45 watts, which sounds good until you compare it to the rest of the industry. While most of these changes split fans, a few upgrades actually bring everyone back on the same side. Multiple leaks point to Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy, paired with up to 16 gigabytes of RAM and up to 1 terabyte of storage. So from a performance standpoint, both versions look stacked, but the real push is happening on the software side. Features like Gemini-powered scan detection, originally expected to stay exclusive to the S26 Ultra, are now rumored to be coming to the Fold lineup as well, running directly on device during calls. And this is where the Apple comparison becomes interesting. Apple will likely focus on polish, efficiency, and ecosystem integration. Samsung's strategy looks very different. Lead with raw power, then layer in as many AI features as possible. And honestly, that approach might work. Which brings up the one thing Samsung really needed to fix years ago: the crease. That visible line down the middle of every foldable that's been there since day one. Samsung has already showcased a crease-free display, and it's expected to finally arrive with the Fold 8 lineup. And if they actually pull this off, it changes the experience completely. But even here, there's a flip side. Reports suggest Samsung is sticking with the M13 OLED panel again. I really hope Samsung brings the same FRC technique they used on the S26 Ultra. If they do, that's actually a solid upgrade, but we'll have to wait. But it shows Samsung is still balancing upgrades instead of going all in on everything at once. The Fold 8 is expected to start at the same price as last year, which was already expensive. Higher storage variants are likely to get an additional $80 price bump. We don't have the Z Fold 8 Wide price yet. And the July launch timing isn't random. Samsung wants to get ahead, control the narrative, build momentum before Apple enters the foldable space later in the year. And honestly, it's a smart move. But it also says a lot about where Samsung is right now. They know the old formula wasn't enough, so instead of making one perfect fold, they've built two different ones. And that's why this divides fans, because for the first time, you're not choosing the best fold, you're choosing what you're willing to give up. We want you to stay with us by subscribing and share your valuable feedback through comments. See you in the next video.